Australia has this wonderful initiative to encourage people to visit small rural communities. I was aware of the Silo Art Trail, but prior to 2020, most of my travel wasn't in regional areas in South Australia. Well, that changed. On a trip to the south of the state, I went through the town of Coonalpyn and I saw the silo art there. Coonalpyn's on a major highway, but most people, including me, just drive straight through. On the way back to Adelaide, I made sure to stop at Coonalpyn just to experience the silo art. It's incredible. The children on the silos are local children from the primary school. After seeing my first silo art in person, I was hooked. A few months later, on a trip to Burra, I went along a secondary route just so I could pass through Farrell Flat to see the silo art there. Farrell Flat is on the edge of the wine district called the Clear Valley, but the surrounding area is mainly grain growing. The art on the Farrell Flat silos shows the last train that passed through Farrell Flat and the wheat crops that are important to the area. Looking through a dusty windscreen doesn't do justice as to how vibrant the colours are on the silo. Once I stopped and got out a better camera, you can get the full impact. The silos in the town tend to be working silos, so you can't get too close. And after I had wandered around the town, I came back to the silo to see that a road train of grain was being unloaded into it. The next two towns I visited as day trips, specifically to see the silo art. Eudunda was the largest of the towns, and at the time I visited, it also had the newest silo art. I discovered that most silos are located on what had been a rail line, as that's how the grain was transported. With the demise of rural rail, most of the rail lines have been removed. Eudunda's rail tracks have been removed, and the old rail line is now a hiking trail to the surrounding towns. The old railway station was being restored at the time that I visited. Eudunda's silos have the theme of storytime silos, with two children sharing stories about their past and culture. A local Indigenous elder gave input into the depiction of the Nudgery child sharing their stories. The other section shows a child with Colin Tierley's Son on the Stubble. Colin Tierley is one of South Australia's most famous children's authors, and he was born in Eudunda. Son on the Stubble is the book he wrote about growing up in the area. There's a statue of him in the local park with one of his iconic characters, the pelican called Mr. Percival. The town has a number of pubs, a nice bakery, country bakeries are always great, as well as a number of businesses operating for the local farming community. The last town I visited as a day trip, and probably the closest to Adelaide being only an hour away, was Owen. Again, a service town for the local farming community. It's quite small. The silos were next to the railway line, which had been removed. The old railway gate with the name of the town had been placed nearby. The Owen community came up with a theme of From Wheat Bags to Sandbags, showing the wheat harvest of the summer of 1914, and then a year later the same young men were filling sandbags at the battle site of Gallipoli, an iconic site for Australians and New Zealanders. The town has a pub, a gift shop, a rather cute recycled clothing shop called The Emporium, a post office, which seemed to be the hub of the town, going by all the people going in and out and having a chat as I had lunch in a nearby cafe. Another community project on the other side of town are the wetlands, which harvest the town's stormwater. The local residents dug out the channels and the lake and still maintain it with local school children. There's a circular path to walk around it, and at the height of summer, where everywhere else around is brown, it's rather the green oasis. I plan to do some longer road trips to discover other towns and their silo art in this big wide world of Australia.